Hello, good morning. Are we all live?
Yes, we're here.
Okay. Oh, exciting times. So on behalf of our team here at CanEx, we're really delighted that everyone could join us today on this inaugural CanEx webinar series. To be quite frank, the 27th of August, I would be a much happier person if we were working frantically towards hosting you all live and direct in person here in Montego Bay, Jamaica, at the end of next month, as we originally planned. Of course, life and pandemics have changed all of our understandings of what we can plan around. But that being said, I'm really excited that we were able to pivot and bring this webinar series to light. What it does for us is it continues our mission as CanEx to continue to share knowledge and education about this very important industry, which is at this nascent stage. As much as we've been talking about it for so long, and many of you who've been close to it or attached to it might feel as though, might misunderstand that it's not in its very early and beginning stage. The reality of it is we're at a very, very young stage in this industry. Every day, every week, every month that goes along represents the lowest point at that point of where we're going to be in terms of the size of this industry. It grows every single day in terms of geography and opportunity. So we're happy to be launching this webinar series, and we're very much delighted to have such a qualified panel of experts who've joined us today, so we could talk about cultivation. And one of the things that I'm sure other panelists will share this and make this point much more eloquently than I can, is what I've seen in this industry is a real misunderstanding and appreciation for the role that cultivation plays in the entire industry ecosystem. We talk so often about vertical integration, and sometimes we get focused on where more of the higher value added pieces come into play, like finished products and medicines and so forth. But what that neglects is that without the base of good, proper cultivated cannabis, we have nothing. And so, we wanted to start our webinar series very deliberately by building on this foundation of cultivation. And that's where we are today. So we have with us, I'm very proud to introduce and welcome 5 experts. We'll start off with Cole Phillips, who's our consulting agronomist. Cole is based here in Jamaica, but originally from Canada, and has growing experience in North America, as well as spent considerable time down here in Jamaica. So he has a very good understanding of both climates and topographies. What I'm going to do is just quickly go over each of our panelists and then ask them words about themselves, just as a way of starting off the whole proceedings this morning. So Cole, welcome to us this morning, and I'd just like you to say a couple words, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here. I think we all wish we could do it in person, but it's nice to be able to get everybody here and, on a virtual platform, and to be able to share some of our knowledge, answer some questions, and give a little bit of information to the community as a whole so that we can all bring each other up together.
Perfect, thank you. Also with us today is Biah, who is brands himself as a Ganja enthusiast. He is with Cannacure Rastafari Sanctuary, and Biah is based here in Jamaica. Biah, welcome to our CanEx webinar series, and if you could share a little bit with our guests about yourself.
Greetings, I hope you're hearing me very well.
Sure.
We give thanks being here. We give thanks to the Rastafari community, to the Enthusiast have me here also, and we thanks to the CanEx webinar to give us the opportunity to speak as far as cultivation and other stuff is concerned. So we give thanks to this wonderful opportunity and wonderful exposure as far as the Rastafari way of growing and understanding is concerned.
Thank you, Biah. Also with us this morning are Andre Hill. Andre is a master grower. He's based here in Jamaica. He also has a background in the culinary arts, which he has said has helped him to develop his skill set and understanding of the art of cultivating cannabis. Andre, welcome.
Yes, good morning, how you doing? Andre Hill, as you have heard, based out of Montego Bay, Jamaica. Chef first, then found appreciation for growing the food that I would use. So now I moved on to cannabis, and it's been a life-changing experience. It has to be the best plant or I've ever grown in my life. So with that experience, trying to change some other people's lives, you know, bring some more young people into learning about what's going on in the cannabis industry.
And next I'd like to go, thank you, Andre. And next I'd like to go to Suzie Nowak. Suzie is based in Knoxville, Tennessee. She has extensive experience in terms of growing both indoor and outdoor, and very experienced in the use of technology in different growing scenarios as well. So Suzie, welcome to CanEx webinar.
Hi, it's great to be here. I really just have a true passion for growing this plant, and I just would like to be able to share my knowledge with other people and help them have successful grows. So I'm excited to be here and help.
Excellent. And our final panelist today is Dr. Darryl Hudson. He's a co-founder of InPlanta Biotechnology and Sansero Life Sciences. Darryl has over 20 years growing experience in cannabis and also a rich experience and expertise in biology, cultivation, genetics, and extraction. What's also interesting about Darryl is he's worked in both Jamaica, North America, and he also is involved in a project in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Darryl, are you there? Welcome.
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. You can hear me up?
We can indeed.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm very grateful that we're still able to do stuff like this and get the word out, you know, and as was mentioned, I think cultivation has been drastically overlooked as people focused on financing and other things over the years, and the fundamental business that we're in is farming cannabis. So though I do have a PhD, I consider myself a humble farmer and you know, try and spend most of my time with the plants.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us. Just a couple of housekeeping notes. So we have at the bottom, you'll see a Q&A caption button. And so we encourage, you know, everyone who's on to submit their questions through that channel. And we're going to try to get them answered as we go along with the webinar. But what's also great is our panelists have each agreed to help us to get answers to all of those questions even after the webinar. So if you have a question, please go ahead and submit it. As I said, within the flow of what we're going to discuss this morning, we're going to try to capture it. But if we're not able to, we're going to endeavor to do our level best to be able to supply an answer after the fact so you can get the knowledge and the answers that you're looking for. Now, all of this would not be possible without the important support of our partners. So I just do want to acknowledge them and thank them. They include Ridgetop Lighting, Silo Wellness, Green Stripe Naturals, MJ Biz, Zimmer & Company, Minorities for Medical Marijuana, M4MM, High Vibes Jamaica, Latinas Cannapreneurs, and Cannabis Salud, and Mita. You know, I'm very proud, not just in terms of getting the support we need to underwrite this, but also in that represents, you know, part of what we've tried to do with CanEx, and that is to have, you know, almost a global footprint. We're first and foremost about promoting this industry in the Caribbean, but we've also been able to forge very strong ties with other groups in Latin America and other markets. And so, you know, the ability to bring together entities as diverse as Ridgetop in Canada, Silo, which is getting into the psychedelic space, and, you know, MJ Biz and Cannabis Salud, we think really speaks to the global nature of this industry. And we hope that, you know, that continues to perpetuate in terms of networking opportunities and us all coming together to be able to learn how to cultivate, how to market, how to build real medicines that help people around the globe with this industry. So let's go ahead and kick it off. You know, I guess my first question would be, if you were to name the 3 top things that you face issues with in operating your cultivation part of your business, what would they be? And I'll throw that out. Ladies first. Let's go with you, Suzie.
I was waiting to hear what everyone else was going to say. Well, I don't grow for like a cannabis profit. I grow for research. So mine is a little bit more complicated. I guess control of my grow, having more control over my room environment is always an issue I have with my business. Training people to work adequately under, you know, if I need help, making sure people are educated in that way. And then just being able to locate knowledge or, you know, information that's honest and true is also a problem that, you know, I'm having with my business per se. But so those are my thoughts, but.
Thank you. Ross, Biah, if I were to ask you the same question.
Yeah, first of all, I would want to say, you know, give thanks. And we as the Rastafari people, I mean, we would like to establish that their journey, which we have started with as far as cultivation and cannabis is concerned. And this journey was always a spiritual journey. So within this spiritual journey, there was a whole lot of elements that came against us dealing with cannabis. One of these elements are the legal system, which was in place before. You know, it gave us different obstacles. Even at times we had to go in the hills to plant, and this gave us compromised products, which, you know, wouldn't attach us closer to our spiritual selves. So those are some of the problems in the past. Now there is a different arrangement as far as legalization is concerned, and how the legal system is set up, so to speak, that we can more get closer to our plants, get closer to how we deal our plants, get spiritually connected. Now, with the problems that we face here, I mean, especially the tropics, some of the problem is how the weather pattern, the system of the environment can do to our farms. So understanding how to deal with these things is one of the greatest look we can have as far as knowing how to bring forth a perfect crop. So the weather system, the mold that comes across, and all these other stuff that we can face here in the Caribbean, you know, we see as what challenges are.
Okay. Thank you, Raspa. I appreciate that. Dre, can I ask you to answer the same question, and we'll move on to another one?
Basically, finding the right partnership. That's the biggest problem, because for a person that's kind of artistic like me, you'd have to find the right partnership, because what I'm doing is / creative / artistic. So it's like you have to find the right person to merge with, because someone like me, we're not starting something to be done with it in a couple of years. You know, this is like it's a lifestyle. It's what I do. It's a part of me. So that's been the biggest problem, finding the right partnership. Everything else pretty much can work itself out if you have the right partnership. Like partnership, working things out, getting to the end. That's I find that's the niche part right there. Anything else after that pretty much can work itself out.
All right, thank you, Dre. Cole, let me ask you this. What do you think will drive growth in this industry over the next 5 years? What are the key drivers?
You know, from my perspective, I think the biggest thing is people really need to focus on the plant and grow a good plant. At the end of the day, quality always sells. And if we can work together, focus our efforts on creating something unique to what we have, and put a good quality product out there, I think that'll be the biggest thing.
Okay. Darryl, if I were to ask you the same thing, and please, panelists, feel free to jump in at any point if you have, if you want to contribute to some of the answers.
Yeah, so I think what everyone said about issues with the business is very valid, and cultivation, as Cole said, is very important. I think what's been neglected as commercialization happened over the past few years was, we lost the genetics, the importance of those genetics. I mean, there was a push over the last few years to grow CBD in Jamaica. And I would test local sampled products, and we started to see the CBD rise in local products where people did not know there was necessarily CBD in it. And at the same time, we've seen the CBD market bottom out in America. I mean, a kilo of isolate is now, what, $700 US, and the input materials into that are $400 or $500. So for me, the most important thing with cultivation is matching your genetics with your environment. And that's going to change no matter where you go. So growing California genetics in Jamaica has not proven to be extremely fruitful. Even though they might have more THC, they're way more susceptible to a lot of the pests. So, what I would like people to focus on is really the terpenes, because when I remember the old Jamaican lamb's bread, and what made it special wasn't that it was 25% THC, it was that flavor and the benefits that came from it. And as we move forward in a more mature market, I don't like making the comparison to alcohol, but you sort of see in the alcohol industry how people gravitate towards certain brands because of the slight minor differences in flavor, not in necessarily how the alcohol affects them, but in how they enjoy the product. And from my perspective, when you grow a really high quality cannabis flower, most of the time you hook the consumer, number one, on the appearance, and number two, on the smell, right? So people usually look at the flower and then they smell the flower. They're not usually able to consume the flower before they buy it, but if those two sensory appeals are there, then it's very likely that you're going to gain a customer and also retain that customer. And so I think the emphasis should be on specialized genetics, unique genetics, and ones that work with your environment, so that all the marketing and sales stuff down the road can take care of itself.
I would like to jump in. Oh.
Go ahead.
I would like to jump in because I have a real take on this. Basically, since the commercial side has come in, we have basically walked away from quality.
Yeah.
It's that has to be foremost front. It's like you have a little quality, but then you have so much marketing behind it that after a while, the truth comes out. You push a product, everybody gets it, and they taste it and say, well, it's not all that. So now you have people thinking a certain way about your product, You're starting to throw the balance off. Basically, he said the right thing. The genetics, everyone is trying to have a cookie cutter perception of the industry. You can't bring LA or California to Jamaica and think it's going to work. You can't bring Canada to Jamaica and think it's going to work. You have to sit here and figure it out. And that's the second part of the industry that's the biggest problem in Jamaica. We're not taking the time to put our mark on it. Everyone's coming in trying to put their mark on Jamaica, but Jamaica already has its own stamp. What we have to do is go back to the base with the genetics.
So let me throw something out to all of you to consider. And I don't know if this is going to get me into problems or not. But when Darryl talks about the terpenes and and the taste, right? So that to me speaks to a specific a specific product there, right? Someone who's actually going to consume that. But as we talk about the commoditization of cannabis, and I think this is where some of the conversation has gotten a little bit sidetracked in terms of the value that people have seen in the cultivation component of the industry, right? So how important is it that when you get into it, you know what the output of your cultivation and your cannabis business is? Meaning that if you're looking to produce finished products, so you're looking for the THC component, you're looking for the CBD component to be extracted from the plant, and that forms the cannabis aspect of your finished product that you're going to sell. How does that, what are your thoughts on that versus when you're going to actually consume the plant, and therefore things like the actual terpene profile and so forth is a much bigger final input into that finished product? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
I think that's one of the biggest things that's overlooked when setting up cultivation. And I see it all over the place. So to give an example, at the facility that I'm running right now, we've got 3 very different grows for 3 very different reasons on the same property. I've got my tunnels in my greenhouses, which are for smokable flower. I'm looking at cannabinoid content, and I'm looking at terpene content. I want something that's nice to the nose, nice to inhale, all around enjoyable. Then I've got my outdoor smokable flower, which again, I'm picking very specific genetics for that, for how they perform, as well as the cannabinoid profile and the terpene profile. Aside from that, we've got our outdoor in-ground grow. That grow is strictly for cannabinoids, that's it. So for each of those 3 separate grows, we pick very, very different genetics that thrive for each of them. I've got some that are terpene rich with a nice flavor, but for the outdoor grow, it's strictly for cannabinoids. It doesn't need to have that bag appeal. It doesn't need to have that terpene profile, because all of that flower is being harvested and then sent in for processing. And I think it's something that everybody overlooks. We'll use wedding cake for an example, because everybody's growing wedding cake now. I don't want to have that in a tunnel, in an outdoor, and on my terraces, because I've got 3 different outputs. So like I said, it's knowing, there's a lot of importance that goes with knowing what the end use of your product is and finding the right genetics to be able to put that out there.
Wow, this is
I do agree with 100%. I agree with finding the right genetics, and what we usually suggest in terms of such finding is wherever you're growing. If you're growing in Jamaica, you want to have some sort of landrace from Jamaica mixed with those other plants that are imported. So if you want to take a plant from California, for that matter, for a certain reason, and you're going to go in the tropics, you want to have to cross it with something from the tropics, which is already acclimatized to the tropics. So you can have perfect flowers, something that is resistant to the things that is happening in the tropics. Now, as far as getting the end results that you want, I always suggest to persons that find out your end, what you need. What is it that you want from the grow? What is it you want from the market? And put your means together. So you have to now create a standard operation procedure. This now is the foundation of the business. When you have a procedure that you manage, you collect data, you put something together that can match your environment. This procedure will carry you through a certain timing. If you're going to grow at timing where it's going to be a rainy season, again, you pick perfect genetics for this rainy season. And if you're going to grow outside, you have to be equipped. How you protect your plants? What kind of pest management do you use to protect your plants? These are conditions which we have to take into consideration. How you get this end product. How you use your nutrients, and nutrients standardization. how you match your system that you want to put in place, because everyone grows with a different system. Everyone wants to put something in place that, I mean, they have methods of growing. But with a standard operation procedure, how do you fit your system within the standard operation procedure that you can a less costly product and the best product at the end of your growth?
Douglas, I got to chime in and say it's a pleasure to be on a panel that's so agreeable after last year. I'd like to say though, I 100% agree with everything that Cole and Ross just said. What Jamaica needs to do, and what should have been done from the very beginning though, is consider that we are now in an international cannabis space. And the real prize for Jamaica is not Jamaica, it's exporting to the world. And we've all known that, and it's been a very slow road for a lot of reasons. But when Jamaica does export to the world, we need to recognize that there is now international competition in the space. And Jamaica is known for high quality outdoor sort of sativas that are very specific. And there was an intense switch to growing different varieties over the last 5 years. And I do not believe that was beneficial for the Jamaican cannabis international scene. So moving forward, I would love to see, again, that focus on the high quality flowers. Yes, you're going to grow probably different things for extracts, but understand on the extract market, you're competing with people like Canada who can grow 1,000 acres with a combine and harvest it all with a tractor with very little effort. And therefore the cost of that material for extraction is almost nothing. It's literally, you know, to get CBD flower out of the States that's milled now, $1, $2 a pound, right? So when you've got all your labor and overhead and things in Jamaica, it's very difficult to justify an international export market for extraction. But the whole world knows Jamaica for this flower, this amazing flower that, to be honest, I don't find very often anymore. And I think most people should go to you know, go find your grandma or grandpa who stored some seeds in their sock drawer 50 years ago and crack those beans, and let's get that old stuff growing again.
Interesting. Okay. Suzie, Trey, anything before we go on?
The genetics are here. The genetics are here. We just, the attitude of the industry coming into Jamaica is one of, like he said, the power of exporting a product from Jamaica. He touched on, he hit it right on the head. So what happens now is, I'm gonna sound terrible, but a lot of people come here and are not thinking about a Jamaican, real Jamaican product, meaning that it's in Jamaican soil, sun, seen, everything, by Jamaican hands. They're more into the, I just want to ship it from Jamaica and label it a Jamaican product. So now, the authenticity, you're not having, it comes back to this now. Say, for instance, you're bringing a grower from California. He's trying to grow in Jamaica. He might not have the full knowledge of how things work, the weather, the knowing that your strains have to be built for rain. You 1 week can be beautiful, the next week it's raining all week. You know, your plant, it's a lot of things, a lot of variables that he might not know. So now you're coming in and you're trying to do something that at the end product is really not a Jamaican product. We need to get back to developing the Jamaica product. That means, say, when you hit this anywhere over the world, you're supposed to be able to identify this as like, oh, I had this in Jamaica. You know, we don't have that here anymore, because when you come in with outside influences, everybody's bringing their thing in, and you have, you know, I'm trying stuff from here, I'm trying stuff from here, I'm trying to bring it back to what I have here too. So it kind of watered down that authentic Jamaican product.
If
we have a couple of growers here that's still trying to hold those values, or I'm even going back for a lot of my stuff that I started with, because I'm coming to find out that stuff is true blue stuff. Because once you water it down, you still have to go back to the original. You always go back to the original blueprint, no matter the wheel.
If we can just, sorry, Suzie, you want to add something? I thought you moved, so I didn't want to. You're muted. You're muted.
Okay, now you can hear me.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the original question was what's going to drive growth in the next 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what we were talking about?
What do you, well, it migrated from there, but what do you think will drive the biggest growth in the next 5 years?
I think technology. I think technology is going to drive growth in the industry. I think technology, and I think, well, here in America, it would just be legalization in more states. In Tennessee, it's not legal. Hemp is legal, but not ganja. But I think technology is going to make a big impact on the way people grow. We're going to be able to control climates. I know it's hard to think about the capital to grow indoor, but being able to utilize data collection and sensors out in your field is going to become a reality. And then we're going to be able to track that data, and we're going to be able to make better informed decisions for our future growth. So I think that's going to be a huge impact on what's going to happen in the next 5 years. So
I agree, but you got to understand that most places in Jamaica that are growing don't have electricity. You know, a lot of these places don't have running clean water. We're talking about building a farming industry from the ground up. And so technology for a lot of these people is a tractor, is a water pump, right? So, you know, in St. Vincent, for instance, we tried to do a lot of things that just have failed so far. And if and when they get the geothermal plant up there and electricity becomes cheap, man, we'll switch everything indoor. And Trinidad, for instance, electricity is really cheap, so there's not much reason to grow outdoor. But Jamaica is very unique in that it has this reputation of this really high quality outdoor flower, and the quality really, from my perspective, was the terpenes. It was those really unique flavors that you didn't find in other weed. So I would love us to go back there, use the technology as much as possible to be able to elevate the industry. But there's a lot of people that need jobs in Jamaica too, so I'm sure it'll be a mix of both.
Well,
Darryl, I wanted to chime into that. Just like you said, the original question was what would drive in the next 5 years. Next 5 years, it's in Jamaica. It would be more knowledge for the cultivators. We need to get everybody on one base level. Once everybody's on this base, on this one level where we can communicate, then things can go up. Because at this moment, you have some people that know more, some people that know less. Some people that know that traditional has helped me more than technology itself, because that knowledge of knowing what's been happening years and years, and knowing when this happens, do this, when this happens, do this. In Jamaica, knowledge is the technology, because once we all have that same base, the communication, that means that I can teach you, you can teach me. I'm not teaching you where you're feeling like, oh, I'm not at that point yet. So we need to all get more education out, because there's so much knowledge here. Like, I've learned more from people that can't read or write than from professors. And I'm telling you, these things that I've learned I could sit on the phone with you somewhere else, and you're telling me your problems. And just what I've learned from this old man, I can answer your questions perfectly. And you're wondering, why? A lot of people call me from overseas and say, why would you know this? And I'm like, well, nature is perfect. Once we start adding our things into it, we start to complicate it. So we have to know where you went wrong, what part of nature did you mess with to bring that back. It's knowledge. We need to share more knowledge. We need to have more intelligent growers down here. Not saying book smart or not, but being able to share the knowledge. And I come to find out that if we all have a like everybody on this panel, we all have a common base knowledge of growing plants.
Sure.
Right? So it's easy for us to share. It's easy for us to go back and forth. So once we go around, like I went down to West, and I just from talking to a couple of growers and telling them little things, I've seen them using it and coming back to me and saying, oh, all right, I did this, I did that. Now I see what you were talking about. So if I didn't share that knowledge and give the knowledge out, he wouldn't be able to come back and be like, all right, I know how to make my thing jump now, you know? Now you're down there and you're looking at this pretty product and you're like, oh my God. Same thing the doc was saying, smells good, looks good. Because we're sharing knowledge more now.
Trey, that's a great point. I want to circle back because it's actually very timely to talk about weather. And I know, things like soil management and understanding your soil, so testing. So, I mean, I know we're in Jamaica, we're talking a lot about Jamaica, but I also want us to think in terms of the other climates. Darryl, you mentioned St. Vincent and Trinidad. There are other territories, Antigua, you have even people from India that are looking at, what do I do in a tropical environment? Sorry, you know what I mean, right? So my point is, when we look at now what's going on with weather, I want us to talk a little bit about understanding your soil. How does that inform your genetic choices? And therefore, how does that play into how you best structure your cultivation setup? And I'd like to hear from all our panelists on this, because I think this is now getting back into the basics of cultivation now. So whether you're in Jamaica, Trinidad, St. Vincent, the fact is, how does, and I'll just actually ask Biah to kick off on this, because it's something we talked about before. But Biah, when we see these hurricanes that are now happening, obviously we're in the hurricane belt in Jamaica, so we're subject to it. What are some of the thoughts that go behind how you structure and choose your genetics in terms of being mindful of the environment?
Well, we look at it like this. We can have 3 grows for the year. If we would not do maybe a stagger, or we should think about going 3 times per year. So we have this wonderful season, which is, and I'm saying Jamaica, and I think the tropics, most of the tropics is almost the same. And if we think about how our environment and what it has to offer as far as good things and the bad things, we can maybe use the data that we have collected within our subconsciousness over the years to guide ourselves to do the best. Now, based on the strain that we would choose for different seasons, we would probably look at the indicas and the hybrid and do them for the first part of the year, which is usually what I always suggest to people. Do your best grow at the beginning and get flower coming into the spring, which you get the more dense flowers, the big buds, and less affection from the environment. Going into the summer grow, you wouldn't want to use more sativas. Here we have longer days in the summertime. So you would lessen your choice in sativas. You would want to grow your sativas later on in the short days. So these are some of the suggestions we have, as far as strains choices. As far as getting into the environment and the soil and all these things, I suggest that people should look at. I've seen grows where people import everything that they grow, like the soil, the nutrients, and all of these additives that you grow. Now, just think about it. If you're going to have something foreign come to an environment where there are different elements that would come across us, you would have problems. So the best way to use soil and use your environment is to include what is there. Include the soil that is in your presence, in your environment, include that in your mix. You would have a stronger plant, a more resistant plant. Include for your pest management things that are around you. Most of these tropical countries and where we have plants that can defend plants. We have other elements around us which we can use to grow, and we grow perfectly as far as